This is episode 120. You'll want to listen today because we will be talking about how to manage your project with visuals. I am the king of signage, visuals, and visual tools. Just ask any project manager that's had to pay the bill. You're going to love today's podcast.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well out there and having a good Monday. We are going to talk today about visual management and how it affects people on their project sites. And I do want to mention one thing. There was a blog post that I did last week for the Elevate Construction IST website that provided standard signage for anybody that wants to either steal the ideas or actually order the signs through Fast Signs. They took the typical signage that I use on projects and they formatted them very nicely for us so you can just order right there on the form. It has the sizes, the material types. It's pretty fantastic. The folks over at Fast Signs really do a good job for us. So I do want to mention that. So if you have any needs for visuals, you can reach out to them or your local signage company, and you can use that catalog free of charge. I want to mention before I go on any further that my kids are helping me out with my business and my podcast stuff. We're having a fantastic time, and I've been really excited about being able to spend time with them. In fact, I told Katie the other day, I was like, I need to spend time doing work with my children in business, each and every one of them before they leave the house, because they're able to learn organizational skills and we're able to work together and deal through conflict and just really have a good time. So one little tidbit, one thing that I'm excited about in life is the ability to do that. So if you ever get time to spend time with your children, do projects with them, do the garden with them or do schoolwork with them or whatever, even start a business with them, I highly recommend it. I did want to share that before I go on. I do want to say that I just finished the final revision of Elevating Construction Superintendents, and we are knee deep in audio recording and audio editing for that. And I'm really hoping that the first part of December, the biggest thing that we're worried about is getting that out on Audible for everybody to enjoy. So let me begin by talking about some feedback that we got from a listener. And here you go. He said, I love this podcast. If I could give some feedback, I would encourage you to be bold about sharing your podcast. I have personally listened to about 80 of your shows, and I tend to keep it to myself. Recently, you have used the term share this podcast if you agree. Elaborate on the word share in my mind. Sharing doesn't just mean click the share button. It means share the wisdom that is being provided by talking about it with others and elevating our industry together. It can be word of mouth, trade partner meetings, huddles, owner meetings, friends, family, and on and on and on. Share so that we can all reach our fullest potential. And I got a little heart symbol. And I really appreciate that. And so let me take that advice really briefly and say that the reason that it's important to share and like and comment on posts and podcasts is because it allows this message to reach more people. So let's take LinkedIn for an example. The application has an algorithm where if there's a post and a lot of people within that first hour start to like and comment and engage with that, it will push that post to more and more people. LinkedIn really wants to take care of its users, its customers, which are viewing the posts, and it wants the most interesting posts out there for people to consume. So the algorithm needs interaction and engagement. So if you're talking about a podcast or a LinkedIn post or a Facebook post, any message that needs to get out and be shared, it's crucial to engage with it. So is the most important thing how we can bless people's lives? Yes. Is it all about likes and things like that? Absolutely not. But the likes and the comments and the engagement get the podcast shared. So let me ask you directly, when you like a podcast or you enjoy the content or you know somebody who needs it, please actually forward that podcast through text to somebody. You can copy the link or like it or like the Facebook link or comment or do something that will engage with it. And then those applications will forward that to more and more people. So I appreciate that feedback, and on we go. So here's some conflict for you to begin. You have too much information in your head. And I do want to mention this story briefly. I used a very wonderful way to get information out of my head at the research laboratory, and it was called the Circle of Trust. Anybody who knows me knows that I love those Circle of Trust diagrams. It's basically a sign with a circle that says the Circle of Trust, and it has a nice quote on the top, and it has this film on it to where it's got this expo film where you can write on it with dry erase markers. And then to the left, I have the same kind of a board that's called the A player list. And on the right, I have the same kind of a board, which is called the F player list. And here's how I used them. At the research laboratory, I would grade people on non-subjective criteria, meaning, were you at the hoist on time? Did you keep your area clean? How many times did you have to be shut down? Did you turn in your weekly safety report, your safety audit? Things like that, meaning it wasn't my opinion. It was just 100% factual. This is what needs to be done, and this is your grade. And when I first started grading everybody, there was like one A, maybe a B, a whole bunch of C's, a couple of D's and F's. And I was surprised. I'm like, oh my gosh, how often in construction do we accept bad behavior or lower standards because we don't make those standards clear? We don't communicate those things, and nobody's held accountable, right? So once I started grading and posting the A players on the wall, according to that non-subjective criteria on a weekly basis, all of our trade partners, all of them started to rise to the occasion. And they took this very seriously. The first couple weeks, maybe not so much, but after a while, everybody seeing this, everyone rose to the occasion. And we got everybody to where there was a bunch of A's, bunch of B's, only a few C's, and there was still one F. And I'm like, okay, so we grade everyone. We send it to the owner, to the owners of businesses, to project managers. We send this to everybody, and it's doing well. And we have people that are long-term fits that have continual good grades in the Circle of Trust. And we have people that have been dishonest or have constantly had F grades outside of the Circle of Trust. But how can we really drive improvement everywhere? And that's when I decided to go ahead and post the F players. Once we did that, everyone rose to the occasion even farther. In fact, we had all A's and we had one C after that. All A's and one C. And the C player used to be an F, and you'd be super, if you knew who this was, you'd be super proud of them. You'd be like, wow, that's a stretch, because they were a super troublesome trade. And so this system really worked because it was visual, and it was brought out of my head, out of my heart, out of my personality, out of my subconscious mind, and out into the visual. Meaning some people really think that grading other contractors is this mean thing. Like, why would you go ahead and do that? Why would you grade contractors? This doesn't sound very nice. It doesn't sound collaborative. It doesn't sound friendly. Well, think about it like this. Everyone already judges everyone, right? Everyone forms opinions. The owner of the entire project forms opinions, right? And don't the owners of companies and project managers and executives want to know how their trades are doing? Don't they want to actually serve their customers and do better? Don't they want to have clear expectations? And wouldn't it be more fair if it was out in an open and fair and honest grading environment instead of me keeping it in my head and then back behind closed doors telling people what I thought about them? Basically, somebody's reputation is 100% in their own control, and there is no backdooring, there is no like secrets, there is no silos, there is no gossip. It's basically the most visual, fair, open, and honest system that I can think of, and it's respectful. So I don't think it's mean at all. I don't think it's harsh at all. I don't have any issues with it at all, because basically we're just taking what's hidden in our own heads, putting it out in the open, and giving people the respect and transparency and control of their own destiny. So I love it. And that's a perfect example in my mind of using visual systems. So the principle is that we should use visual management on site. And let me just say a couple of things by way of principle. A key element of Lean is the visual workplace. Gwendolyn D. Galsworth, the founder of the Visual Lean Institute, defines the visual workplace as a work environment that is self-ordering, self-explaining, self-regulating, and self-improving, where what is supposed to happen does happen on time, every time, day or night, because of visual devices. And so the bottom line is we can leverage total participation, or at least get closer, when things are visual and when we see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. And so the question is, what do I need to know to do my work? What do I need to share with others so they can do their work? By placing visual information as close to the place of work as possible, we are able to enable effective results. And so Toyota uses the concept of visual workplace management and enables everybody to see what is normal and what is abnormal. Most of the time they use simple green, yellow, and red color indicators of condition status, And that can be extremely helpful. In construction, we will use a number of different techniques and visuals in the field to help our workers. So we'll talk about some of those right now. So visual systems in the field could be a number of these things, and I'll explain them one by one slowly. Takt plans. Takt plans are schedules that show the flow and rhythm of a project on a single 11 by 17. You can literally see the plan for the project within seconds. They're colorful, they're easy to read, they're fantastic. If you have Takt plans on the wall, on the gang boxes, in the hoist, at your floor huddle boards, wherever, or on 11 by 17s for the workers, that can be a very good visual system to get people to understand the schedule instead of have it be hidden in like tens and tens and tens of pages in a CPM scheduling software where they can't visualize it. Okay, another one, visual scheduling boards. How wonderful is it when we use the last planner system and we use our 3-week, 6-week, 9-week schedule planning boards on the wall where the squares are formatted to be the size of a sticky or larger or smaller, whatever, but we have scheduling boards that are visual for everyone on rolling tracks on the wall to where you can plan with your trade partners for the next weekly work plan and your make-ready schedules, your look-ahead schedules that for the next 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, or however far out you want to go. Making those schedule boards visual gets total participation from all of the foremen, and it can be absolutely fantastic. All right, another one, project signage. I know this might sound like common sense, but here's my point with this. Project signage should be intentionally designed and intelligently designed. When I do a logistics plan, I will typically have my logistics for my foundations, for superstructure, for exterior, for interior. Then I'll have one for safety. And then I'll actually have a signage plan that actually describes my wayfinding, designs my trailers, and designs the entire site, how people will interact with it, how they're going to find their way. Is everything intelligently designed? I think that's fantastic because how often do we just put up a sign here or there, just by happenstance? The ultimate end of everything we do is that a worker can come to the project site and find their way to where they're going, know where there's materials, know where to get information, have a clean delineated walkway, no treasure hunts, and be able to engage with a project site that is remarkable. Meaning the orientation areas are visual, the lunchroom is visual, the bathrooms are visual. We even have visuals on the way out to the project site that shows which stair tower they can go up. The hoist is visual. We have lean boards on every floor. There's markings on the floor showing where they got to go. Everything is visual, and they know how to engage, and they especially know how to engage with the day plan in the huddle area. Okay, so project signage, that should be intelligently designed in addition to all the signage inside your office trailers so that you can have wonderful interaction spaces. I call them interaction spaces because our signage should be based on how do you want somebody to feel, what do you want them to know, and what kind of interactions do you want from people. That's how we should be designing our visuals and our signage. Visual day plans. How fantastic would it be if we had visual day plans on a 4x8 sheet of plywood that are out there in the field on whiteboards that described exactly what the plan for the day was for each functional area. In fact, I'm planning a project right now, and there are 3 major functional areas on this project, and I'm really excited about it because the workers will have outside of the trailers these 3 day plan boards on a piece of plywood on whiteboards, and they'll be able to see the logistics, the staging, the critical activities for the day, inspections, weather, all of the things that they need to know for the plan for the day, especially the biggest safety concerns, and they'll be able to interact with that right after the morning worker huddle, and they'll be able to go back to that if they ever have any questions with anything that they need to know that day. Also, here's another example, visual pre-task plans. Why not change that from a bunch of words and descriptions to switching it from an 8.5 by 11 to an 11 by 17 and have the other half of that be an open visual drawing area so that your workers and your foremen can actually list out the things in words that they need to the left and then draw pictures to the right if they need to. I've experimented with that before and it's fantastic. And it works really well with the safety side and the quality side and then places to draw. Okay. The other thing is lean boards on floors. What if when you come, and I've seen this many times, and you have too probably, when you come up through the hoist and you come out onto the floor, there's immediately a board right there that says level 2, here's the shutoff valves, here are fire extinguisher locations, here are benchmark locations, here's the Takt plan and the current schedule, and any other pertinent information for that floor where workers might need to interact with that and get quick information. Another thing you can do, visual control. I would also one day mark out the corridors and make it a rule that nobody stages anything in corridors, and those corridors are delineated and marked 100% for clear access. Any kind of visual control like that is fantastic. At the hoist, is there a sign there that says any deliveries have to be color-coded by trade on a pallet, on a greenie, staged in a proper location, in a coordinated location, What are your rules? And does your hoist operator have cans of spray paint there with the different colors so that they can control the intake of materials and coordinate where they go? If we do, that's absolutely fantastic. And in fact, we have hoist signage boards in that packet of signs that I talked about on the Elevate Construction IST website. And I think you'll really enjoy that. And so I'm just giving you a couple of ideas here. I don't want to give you an exhaustive list, but I want to get you excited and thinking about what could you change on your project site to make it a visual site. So let me just give you a couple more. What if your meeting agendas were actually signs on the conference room walls? You wouldn't have to go, if somebody was missing, you wouldn't have to go find them somewhere on a server. It's right there on the wall. People are able to prepare. They know exactly what the next topic is, and it's easy for different people to cover and follow that agenda. And you're able to also have team building rules or meeting rules or things like that. Visual, make those visual, make it a visual management system. 3D Bluebeam sketches. This is probably one of the best ones that I can recommend. How often have we tried to explain a scenario of what we want to do out in the field when you can take pictures out in the field, staple those together in Bluebeam, and then sketch over the top of them with transparencies and arrows and things like that in sketches, and then send those to designers or trade partners or whoever you're going to coordinate with. It makes it super, super easy because we're making it visual. Obviously, BIM is the low-hanging fruit, right? We need to really make sure that we are utilizing that. So if we've done the coordination, do our superintendents and foremen have BIM 360 glue on their iPad broken out by rooms with their viewpoints? Meaning, can they go through a list and say, I want room 132, and click on it, and it brings a cropped view of that room so that they can go look at the MEP and the other items inside that room? Are we bringing those visual systems to the field? One-line diagrams. How often have we had an electrical single line or one line diagram or a mechanical flow diagram that we can put up on the wall and we can color code, hey, I need these panels up first for air handlers, or I need these duct systems, I need this high pressure duct up before any of the others. Make it visual so everybody can see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group. Also, I do want to just say one more time, if we have measurement systems, and I've covered this in a previous podcast, why are we not bringing those measurement systems and those visuals and putting those in a weekly schedule update? So when I'm done with a schedule update myself, I'll send all of those visuals, all of that visual site information to my trade partners. So the top of it might be, hey, we have 125 days left on this project. Here are some notices. Here are the current schedule printouts that we have for you. This is the schedule data. Here's the grading criteria. We took a snippet of that. Here is the rolling completion list counts that we have for observations for our incomplete work list. This is the status of each of the contractors. Here are the pictures of the weekly work plan that we described. All of these visual systems, the more things that people can see, the more we communicate with trade partners, the more we can encourage a visual site. So those are some good examples. Let me give you one more kind of from a different angle. If you have a schedule, does everyone understand it? Does everyone visualize it? I would say no. I think for most people, it's hard to read a CPM schedule. So your schedule isn't complete unless you have a Takt plan as a companion. You have your logistics maps because that ties to your schedule. When do you have cranes? Where do you have cranes? Where are the comeback areas? Where is the hoist? Do you have sequence maps? Do you have a basis of schedule describing the context? Do you have a risk analysis? Do you have these visual systems that show flow, show the context, show the visuals? Otherwise, I would say you don't have a complete schedule. So a complete schedule in my mind is the master schedule, the Takt plan, logistics, sequence maps, the basis of schedule, and the risk analysis. That whole package right there is your visual schedule. Otherwise, you don't really have a schedule that people can read or understand the context. They're just trusting you that you have a good schedule and that you'll manage it. So one other thing I want to mention. What if, so real quick, let me go back. I've talked about some random ideas. I just talked about how you can make a schedule more visual. Now let me talk about visual systems in the trailer. I've described before how in the trailers that I design, we have an inspection area, we have a family wall where we have pictures of people's family up on the wall, we have a right to know area, we have a permitting area, we have the digital plan table with the interaction area with the dashboard, we have the war room where we have our sliding schedule boards where we do pull planning and make-ready planning with the trade partners. We have all of these interaction areas. And then you go in the conference room, and on one side, you would see the Takt plan printed out in a really nice board, the logistics plan that you can draw on, planning boards where you do the 3, 6, or 9 week look aheads on the board, and you can do your pull planning, you can do your weekly work planning, and then a whiteboard to draw on. On the other side of the conference room, you might see some more of those typical winning signs, the ones that help you with operational control. You might see a board for deliveries, a board for inspections, a board for roadblocks, and then some other general maps that you can interact with. All of your wall space in the conference room needs to be intelligently designed. And I would say one of the biggest troubles that contractors have with implementing good scheduling systems and last planners that they don't have the right signage and they don't design their conference room walls. They don't design their conference room walls properly. And this is important for a few reasons. Your workers and your foremen and everybody should understand everything. That's the end goal. If you ask yourself, of the plan, how much do my foremen understand? How much do my workers understand? If it's like, well, my foremen, I think they understand 60%. The workers, I think they understand 20%. We need to get those percentages higher and higher and higher and higher. The workers should understand everything. That's the goal. That's the end goal for everything. So if you think about how much the workers and the foremen understand, if the workers understand 20% of the overall project plan and the foremen understand 50%, the goal is to get them as close to 100% as you can, get those percentages higher and higher and higher through visual systems and better communication. The general population of the United States has a distributed learning style between visual, auditory, and kinesthetic of 65, 30, and 5%, meaning that 65% of people are visual learners, 30% are auditory, and 5% are kinesthetic, meaning they have to just touch and interact with information. So 65% of people are visual learners, then we need to get this information out on visual communication. So the idea is for the superintendents, get everything out of your head, either on visual planning boards or visuals with visual communication, visual management, or in your huddle systems, auditorily or verbally communicate to those auditory learning people so that they understand the plan with words. So get everything out of your head. Lean really does not work without visual management. This has been described as a work environment that is self-ordering, self-explaining, self-regulating, and self-improving, where what is supposed to happen does happen on time, every time, day or night, because of visual devices. And that again is by Gwendolyn D. Galsworth. Another principle that will help us is 5S. We will cover that in tomorrow's podcast. We do 5S or 3S to see what we need to see and to find problems so that we can have a more interactive, visual, and remarkable workspace. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. But the challenge is people can wonder where they need to go on site. People are wondering where the materials are. They wonder how to interact. They don't know what stair tower to use. They don't know what the staggered times are for the lunch area. They don't know what the plan is for the day. They don't know where to go for hiring. They don't know where the office administrator is. They don't know because we don't communicate that stuff. And the ultimate state of the worker is that they should come to work, know where to go, interact with visual systems, know the plan for the day, have the materials, have the information, have a clean area with visual systems, everything they need so that they can put work in place and make money. So ask yourself if everyone on your site understands the things they need to understand. And if they don't, we have room to improve, and this can be fun. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.